Oh,
Hello, and welcome to Healthy Meal Preppers. I'm Nikita Sharma, personal trainer, and here we have Dr. Amita Kumar, wellness coach, and also Melissa, healthy meal prep coach. Hello, ladies. How are you doing?
hi everyone.
Good. Very well, very well.
Awesome. So today we have a fun topic. We're building off of last episode's topic, but we are talking about the baseline of food and how to go about incorporating more healthy food options into your diet. And Amita has a lot of experience doing this with herself personally. So why don't you talk about that, Amita?
Okay, so the first thing is, yes, I'm a doctor, but I am also human, so I have not always eaten healthy. Um, there was a time when Doritos, Oreos were like staples in my pantry, um, and I've had to really change my eating habits. Um, I consciously have done this. Well, one, and I didn't even drink water. So, like, everything from like not drinking regular water, not eating enough fruits and vegetables. And I figured that I had to really just do like small things, technically often. So, the first thing I did was fix my like liquid intake.
Mhm.
Um, it was really hard at first, and I had to like force myself to drink water, but I did it. And now I don't drink vitamin water ever. So if I can do it, you can do it. I know that sounds silly, and people that don't know me don't believe me, but it's like true. I literally did not drink regular water. So I feel like one thing at a time. But Melissa, do you have any like tricks?
Yeah. Well, okay. So, I mean, I haven't told this story in a while, and Nikita, I don't know if I've told you this story, but I would say being very health conscious came from a habit that I wanted to change, which was I wanted to not drink so much fufu creamer in my coffee in the morning. Somebody told me one time about something about serving sizes, right, of coffee creamer, and I'm like, I have no idea how many servings I need in order for it to taste good. But I did know that I would put my coffee in a mug, and I would pour the creamer from the jug, and I'd pour it in at pretty much the same tilt until it hit the bottom and came back up again, right? That's how much I knew in my head I wanted to consume. Turns out, when I actually measured it, it was probably like 5 or 6 servings that I was drinking every morning just to make my coffee taste good. It was crazy. And I realized how much palm oil I was getting, how much sugar I was getting, all before 8 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it was insane. So my first goal was I wanted to figure out a way to still enjoy my mornings without consuming so much sugar, and palm oil and all the junk that goes in those fufu creamers. So I'm with Amita that I think it's one choice that you decide to make can kind of start the ball rolling on making different choices, right? But for me, I think eating, it came down to when I was pregnant with Maddie and I was 40, right? So I think there was a worry that I could ease into gestational diabetes pretty easily. And so right off the bat, my OB-GYN put me with a dietitian right out of the gate. And the first thing she told me to do is I have to write everything down, right? So I had to carry around in my purse a little journal, and I had to write everything down. And she's like, and I mean everything you pop in your mouth, every two M&Ms, every sip of, sweet tea or whatever it is, you have to write it all down. And when you come back and reflect after a day of all of the things that you put in your mouth in a day, it was pretty surprising to me. So, yeah. I would say that that's kind of step one, I would say, when it comes to baseline, is just being cognizant, really, right, of what you're doing. Thoughts?
I think that's definitely good. I mean, similarly, I think journaling is probably number one in general. So I think even in fitness, right, Nikita, like journaling what exercises you're doing for how long, or journaling your own just thoughts in general. And then journaling what you're eating, exactly what you're eating. I've used MyFitnessPal in the past. I know people have used different things, Noom, and there's a bunch of different apps. So whatever works, or paper and pencils, fine too, But I think just like keeping track and just noticing without judgment, ideally, but just keeping track of things first, and then you can't change things if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And then like something small, like I said, like I literally was like, okay, I usually tell my patients, if you can just cut out soda, and honestly, not even forever, but just like for a few months, literally go to 0, then you can probably add back soda here and there, depending on what you're eating, if you want it,
Right.
But cutting it out entirely to begin with is hard, but you can do it. And it's probably an easy place to get rid of all those calories.
Drinking calories for sure. One of the things so we have a journal in our membership area, a couple of journals. What I like about creating a journal and then going back over is just to pick a couple of things and try to, like, I use, how do you say it? Chronometer or chrono, whatever. I like that.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Chronometer. And I think I've said this on here before. I like it because at the bottom, it tells you obviously your macros, like what are you consuming, and it has, I would say all the restaurants and grocery stores and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty easy to build out your macros for the day, but I like it because at the bottom it has minerals too, which I find super fascinating, like vitamins and minerals. So you can kind of see where you are maybe potentially eating foods or not eating foods that are rich in certain minerals. Like one of my best friends told me today, her doctor told her that her like iron levels are around like 9 right now, like 9. So, and like it's concerning when it gets to 12. So, I mean, it's one of those things that I like. That's what I like about baselining using an application like a MyFitPal or Chronometer or whatever when you use, because you can also see, where you can see where you are. I mean, I think that's first step, right? That's what we're talking about today. It's just the baseline.
Yeah. And another thing I'll add, which is super important, is like once you collect that data through tracking and journaling, it's like, okay, now what? And it's super important to know where your maintenance level of calories are, where you're going to be at for you to gain weight, and where you're going to be at to lose weight. And then from there, plan accordingly. Because a lot of women, they just know the less calories they eat, the more they're going to lose weight. But actually, a healthy place to be is about 200 to 300 calories under your maintenance level, not 500-600, because then your body's just going to start to shut down and you won't be able to function properly.
No, that's such a good point. A lot of people do that, actually, over calorie deprivation. So if you're starting at 1,500 calories and you just decide, okay, I'm going to stop, I'm going to decrease it by like 200 to begin with, that's a solid start.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that also I noticed that I think was helpful, and it goes back to why I say in the beginning, when you're first starting out, the easiest thing you can do is portion out the things that are, that take a couple of days and just portion out exactly how much, right? I mean, how much is a 500 calorie meal, right? So that if I start visualizing and I can tell, say I'm going to dice chicken breast, right? And I build a meal around that. And I know that if I'm going to eat 6 times in the day, and I want them all to be around about the same size meals, right? I'm going to take all my macros and I'm going to divide it by 6. But if I'm somebody who likes to just eat 3 meals a day, right? I'm going to divide it by 3. I might leave myself a couple, of macros for snacks and that type of thing. But then start visualizing. In the very beginning, and I say this in the first couple of days of our 21-day challenge, is buy yourself a scale and buy yourself some measuring cups, right? Because we don't want to be measuring for the rest of our lives. Ain't nobody's got time for that. You just don't. You don't have time for that. But in the beginning, if you know how much cottage cheese, right, adds to your macros for the day, you can start eyeballing it. If you know how much, say you eat sweet potatoes, right? You like to put diced sweet potatoes in your chicken, and that's something you like to do, or cauliflower or whatever. You start to get a feel for how much it is when you use a measuring cup and you use a scale, right? So I'm going to weigh it out, and I'm going to find out how much I can have, because I know I've split my macros into however many times I want to eat. But then I also coupled that with a measuring cup so I can start visualizing, and I don't have to measure food forever. So hopefully that's helpful. I know
I love that. Yes, I think that's really helpful. And I think that's probably plenty for today. At least I feel like it's plenty for today. So here's your homework for those that are listening. Start writing down what you're eating and figure out how to measure what you're eating, and just learning about it. Don't go into judgment mode. Don't go into changing mode. Just start writing it down and noticing.
Yeah, it's really one of those things where you have to take messy action, because you're going to learn only once you start doing it.
I like that. Messy action. Thanks, everyone.
Let's go.
Bye.